I do want to welcome everybody today. Thank you for joining us. I am Caitlin Giles McCormick here with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Today's session is an informational overview on the New Jersey Innovation Fellows Program. So to get us officially started with the presentation and welcome, I will shift things over to NJEDA's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Michelle Bowden. Michelle?
Oh, hello. Thank you so much, Caitlin. As Caitlin just said, I am EDA's Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. We are so excited to have you all join this call today. What is a rainy day, so we are so happy to be virtual. I wanted to take a moment to just give a big thank you for you all attending what we feel is a very exciting, soon to launch New Jersey Innovation Fellows Program. We've had a lot of interest garnered, and again, we have so many folks on today. So, please listen intently, and please use that chat to ask of any questions that you may have. The EDA, a little bit about the EDA. We are a vehicle here that is designed to give economic boost and to promote growth throughout the state. We develop and operate over 65 programs, yes, 65, to support businesses across the state and sector and in all stages to recruit and retain high quality jobs for the people here at EDA in New Jersey. We are a part of the mission to really drive and foster inclusive community development that in turn catalyzes investment throughout the state for its diverse business owners. We do our best, our very best, to fill market gaps that exist, including the gap at the very front of business life cycles, which is the formation stage. This program, this Innovation Fellows Program, is designed as a solution that we hope will help to drive Governor Murphy's overall strategic economic development plan towards building a stronger and fairer New Jersey and helping to make this state the most diverse and inclusive innovation ecosystem in the nation. So, the exciting thing about this program is that this is the first of its kind to support, early stage businesses in their earliest stage, actually in that idea stage. The program, the Innovation Fellows Program, is designed to provide economic and social capital to would-be entrepreneurs by way of funding, mentorship, and connections to help build up and to help in that venture to help entrepreneurs to really start at the idea stage. This means that we also provide income replacement capital. And in most cases, entrepreneurs are at the idea stage. We know that this is very critical, particularly for diverse entrepreneurs, given the often lack of historical financial backing. So we cannot wait for you to get into this, to hear all about what this program has to offer. And without much further ado, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Tim Rollander. He is our Director for Venture Programs here at EDA. I have the pleasure of working very closely with he and his team and, watching them up close and personally with developing these programs for the state and for the public. So Tim, please take it away.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Rollander. I'm the Director of Venture Programs here at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, and it's a pleasure to be with you. In a moment, I'll hand the presentation to my colleague, Emmanuel, to take you through an introduction to the New Jersey Innovation Fellows Program. First, I appreciate the opportunity to set the stage with you following from Michelle's comments to illustrate the importance of this program and how it aligns with the component of the NJEDA's mission to catalyze investment in the state. The NJEDA's venture programs are built to foster engagement with angel, venture capital, and corporate venture capital investors, and to invest or deploy dollars from state, federal, or balance sheet funding that will support the growth of innovative businesses in New Jersey. New Jersey Innovation Fellows exists at the intersection of engagement and investment, whereby the NJEDA will administer the grant funding and the mentorship for would-be or first-time entrepreneurs. This program forms the very earliest form of support the NJEDA offers to and gets to the very formation of innovative businesses. Importantly, New Jersey Innovation Fellows is a critical form of support, but does not exist in a vacuum. The program is the start of a continuum of support that we aim to bring to bear for entrepreneurs to encourage their journey to established enterprises. There are additional incentives like the Angel Investor Tax Credit Program, which incentivizes an investor with a refundable tax credit for up to 25% of their investment into a New Jersey-based business. There exist ties into the greater community working with agencies like the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology to access the Research with New Jersey platform as a connection to engage the state's largest research universities for expertise and access to critical assets. And there exists additional grant or investment dollars, for example, through the New Jersey Accelerate program, which may provide up to $250,000 for businesses that go through an approved accelerator program, or access to free rent for more than a year in approved co-working facilities in the state. These resources are positioned to help entrepreneurs start, stay, and grow your business in the state, and we look forward to working with you. Oops, excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that. Of course, I'm the guy to mess up the technology. There we go. Sorry, 1 second. So with that context, I'm proud to turn the presentation to the program leader, my colleague, Emmanuel Essachai, Diversity, Entrepreneurship, and Finance Officer here at the NJEDA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us today. Innovation Fellows is an exciting addition to the EDA's venture platform. Studies have proven that entrepreneurship and succeeding at it is highly correlated with access to capital. With about 80% of startups being self-funded and 24% of startups entrepreneurs successfully raising supportive capital from family and friends. That's right, only 24%. Evidence shows that it is would-be entrepreneurs with access to capital who end up taking calculated risk of entrepreneurship, right? So would-be entrepreneurs with lower access to supportive capital, such as diverse entrepreneurs, often find it difficult, if not impossible, to leave current stable employment and income to pursue new ventures. For those would-be entrepreneurs who engage to make the leap, who manage to make the leap rather, and manage to raise early stage capital, they quickly find that the raised capital is typically for product development and must also rely on other means for personal income to meet cost demands for their living expenses. This is the very gap that Innovation Fellows is targeting. The fellowship program will support entrepreneurs with income replacement grants and mentorship, dispersed quarterly throughout the initial 2-year ideation and formation period of the Innovation Fellows team's businesses. It is seeded with a $10 million appropriation from the state, and approved teams will be qualified to receive $200,000 as a base award and an additional $200,000 in bonuses, totaling a potential $400,000 award, but a little bit more on that a bit later. In addition to the income replacement capital, the fellowship program, the fellowship program incorporates compulsory participation in a mentorship program. Mentorship, which will be administered through organizations that will be announced in Q2, will provide technical training through a general operations curriculum, as well as access to subject matter experts that will offer nuanced advice and mentorship to fellow teams. This is in line with the understanding that whilst there are technical aspects of company development that every startup team must pay attention to, and I mean, think of understanding your total addressable markets and your go-to-market strategy, or your cash flow statements or your SWOT analysis. Those are technical components of business development or company development. There are distinguishably nuanced differences in the development process for, say, a fintech startup versus, say, a biotech startup. So as a result of that, nuanced advice and mentorship to fellow teams we find that to be necessary and will be provided. Part of the value add in delivering that nuanced advice and mentorship to the fellow teams is the Diversity Finance Advisory Board, which the authority is currently assembling. The body will serve as an added resource to fellow teams, as well as an additional guiding body to the authority and for the future development. As I mentioned earlier, approved teams will qualify to receive $200,000 as a base award. An additional bonus of $50,000 will be awarded to a team if at least one entrepreneur on the team resides in an opportunity zone. There are also legislated diversity and education bonuses. For the diversity bonus, up to three $50,000 in bonuses will be awarded for each entrepreneur leader with a diversity self-certification. Similarly, up to three $50,000 in bonuses will be awarded for each entrepreneur leader with a New Jersey University or college graduation certificate. With maximum legislated bonuses at $150,000, plus the base bonus of $50,000 and the base award of $200,000, approved teams may receive up to $400,000 in grant award. Grant awards to approved teams will be dispersed equally over the course of 8 quarters following board approval, provided teams meet and continue to meet compliance milestones. The mentorship curriculum begins immediately following the approvals. The team here in the House expects that 5 to 8 teams will be awarded per cohort in 2 cohorts annually. So eligibility. So who qualifies for the Innovation Fellows Program? Teams of entrepreneurs. Legislation mandates that applicants be teams of at least 3 entrepreneurs. Half of the team must be first-time entrepreneurs and half must also be coming directly from the workforce. The team must also submit a well-written business plan for a venture that will operate in any of the state's targeted industries with a base of operation in an eligible municipality. All applicants' team members must also enroll in one of the provided mentorship programs and remain enrolled and active throughout the program's 2-year duration. All entrepreneurs on the leadership team must also have paid gross income tax to the state of New Jersey within 60 days of the application date. There are also, these are just a select few critical eligibility criteria. Detailed eligibility description is available on the Fellows webpage, and that will be given momentarily in a couple of slides ahead if you don't already have it. So what do you expect? And how do you apply? This is actually a question we've been getting quite a bit lately. The application period, which has not opened yet, but we expect the 60-day application period to go live sometime in Q1. Prior to the application period, though, there will be a 30-day question and answer period for all interested applicants to make clarifying inquiries. It is important to mention that teams can apply with an already existing business. However, the business must not have been existing for more than 12 months leading up to the date of application and must not have been operational. So here are some, Right, sorry about that. Here are some of the sample items you will have to have ready for application. Please note that incomplete applications will be declined for consideration, and applicants must reapply with a complete application for a future cohort if declined at this stage. Just a point of note earlier, if a team applies with a venture that has not been registered, the team will have 30 calendar days from the date of approval notice to register their new businesses. It is important for approved fellows to remain compliant throughout the program's 2-year duration. For example, all grant income must be used as, or grant monies must be used as income replacement funding for the venture's minimum 3 entrepreneurship leaders. The entrepreneur leaders must be full-time throughout the 2 years, which means that the entrepreneur leadership cannot commit more than 20 hours per week to outside ventures such as another job or classes or school. The entrepreneur leaders must commit to no less than 35 hours per week to the venture. Continued participation in mentorship program by all grant entrepreneur leaders is required. Continued payment of New Jersey gross income tax by all entrepreneur leadership is also required. And the primary operations of the venture must remain in an eligible municipality. If the team applied and received an opportunity zone bonus, that opportunity zone residency must continue to be in effect, or we risk the risk of clawing back the bonuses. Please note that compliance failure or failure of being compliant may result in grant agreement termination, nullifying committed for future disbursement, and may trigger a clawback of any dispersed funds. So to summarize, the New Jersey Innovation Fellows Program will provide seed funding to serve as income replacement for entrepreneurs. It will deliver mentorship. It will facilitate economic growth and job creation. It will invest in diverse talents critical to New Jersey's vibrant innovation ecosystem, and it will target diverse entrepreneurs. I know there are many questions here. Is the Innovation Fellows Program website that I mentioned earlier, as well as as our email for further questions. I see the Q&A spot is lighting up for quite a bit of questions. So could I turn over to our team member, Michelle Martinez? Are there any outstanding questions that we can tackle at this moment?
Yeah, so there seems to be a lot of questions around eligibility, as well as opportunity zone funds.
Okay.
And those will address that. And then also trying to figure out if all three of the entrepreneurs at minimum need to be New Jersey residents.
Good question. So, okay, I'll tackle the New Jersey residency requirement first. As per the legislation, the entrepreneurs do not have to be New Jersey residents, but they must all three show evidence that they have paid gross income tax to the state of New Jersey no more than 60 days leading up to the date of application. I hope that was clear. Are there any other specific questions around the eligibility criteria? And you mentioned there was broad questions around there. Are there any other specific ones?
Yeah, I think particularly around opportunity zone funds. So I was able to add the link to that mapping tool. Okay. There's questions about citizenship as well. If you need an ID.
Just really quickly before we go on, just to set some context. I saw just a quick reference. This presentation and this video will actually be posted on the EDA's website. We're happy to take questions right now. If we don't get to your questions during this hour, which again, considered office hours for us to be able to offer an introduction to the program, we'll definitely follow up via email. We appreciate you using the New Jersey Innovation Fellows at njeda.com email address. To add a little more point to Emmanuel's last response, not only do entrepreneurs have to be subject to gross withholding in New Jersey within the 60-day period up to application, they must also maintain that throughout the life of the program, basically. Okay, cool. So Michelle, do you want to just kind of scroll from the top and ask kind of questions based on what you're seeing broadly? We'll see if we can address a few at the same time. You are muted, Michelle.
Thank you for that. Sorry about that. So we have a question that says, what if you are a small business already, but suffering financially as a startup? Was considered startup here? Pandemic hit a lot of us hard.
Yeah, I'll take that question from kind of an organizational perspective. So again, as Michelle mentioned at the start of the call, EDA has 65 plus programs across grants, financing resources, real estate initiatives as well. You know, that we aim to fill market gaps. We don't pretend that any single program can be a solution for every business's woes. That's why we have 65 different programs. This program in particular, New Jersey Innovation Fellows, is built to help foster the formation of businesses. right at that outset. So as Emmanuel mentioned in his first response, you must be subject to New Jersey gross withholding within 60 days of the application. And importantly, from a process perspective, you'll notice, oops, I think I just saw, the slides are jumping around a little bit, I apologize. From a process perspective, we created within the program a window of 30 days following approval for a business to fully form and register in the state. So that should be an indication. To the point of additional needs that existing and established businesses need, we would defer you to generally to our colleagues in the Community Development and Small Business Group, who have additional resources like the Main Street Loan Program. There are additional resources for rent support and so forth, basically. So this isn't a program for well-established businesses, but we're happy to have a conversation with you and identify a resource that does exist for you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that, Tim. One of the questions that we have is what defines the idea stage of a business? And Tim, you kind of talked a little bit about it, but maybe can we define that a little bit more for some of the audience members?
Yes. So I'll take that. So ideation phase means that the business is not actually operational. The business many times has not been registered in any capacity. So it's literally just an idea. As you can see, part of the eligibility criteria here is that entrepreneurs must also submit a well-written business plan for an idea that they're trying to develop and trying to build. And then given the opportunity to register that business after it's been approved. In the event that teams are going to be applying on the behalf of an already established business, that business could not have been operational for more than 12 months leading up to the date of application. And it has to show that it has not been operational. It could not have incurred expenses or received any kind of grants or not grants, rather, revenue or anything of that nature.
Thanks for that, Emmanuel. There's quite a bit of questions around cannabis business, and so maybe we can talk a little bit about the targeted industries.
That's a good question. Oh, Emmanuel, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna
pull it up, the targeted industries.
Targeted industries, you've got it exactly. This is why. Oh, is that slide on here?
It's I don't think we have it here.
There is there's a stated list of targeted industries that were provided to us through legislation aligns with several of the other programs created through the Economic Recovery Act of 2020. That is spelled out in the program memo online, and we'll draw a clear distinction on eligibility, and the industries are defined in there. So we don't just say, hey, here's an industry and leave it to your own interpretation. There's actually a definition. So we'll be happy to follow up on individual cases to be able to work with you specifically. And if the definition seems like it's not clear with you, happy to have a conversation. So we'll hold that for one-on-one conversations later.
Great. And then there are also a number of questions coming up about the mentorship and the mentorship requirements. How frequent are they in person or are they virtual?
Great question. I'll take that. The mentorship program will be a hybrid where at some point in times, the fellows will need to meet up in central locations with other fellows and other entrepreneurs. The facilitators or the third-party organizers that we will be working with, we're working through the arrangements at the moment, and we will announce those later on in Q2. But it will be a hybrid process. But all entrepreneurs must have, all fellows that are awarded must have satisfactory participation. There will be a form of, an attendance sheet, so to speak, and a participation report that will be submitted to the EDA at the end of every quarter to attest to the fact that entrepreneurs were participating effectively in the mentorship program. It's a legislative requirement, and it's actually slated to help the entrepreneurs starting a business and going through a business. It's not an easy process. And as our CDO, Chief Diversity Officer, mentioned earlier, not only are we given income replacement income, but we'll also be given social capital, right? So that's part of the social capital, building and extending your network to make sure that to support the high likelihood of success for any of your ventures.
Okay, great. And then still on the same topic, so we have a question about what is the time and location of the mentorship program separate from the 35 hours of work in the business? And so maybe we can talk a little bit about that, the requirement for the fellows to work on their business, how that requires them to kind of leave, you know, whatever they're doing, their full-time business, to pursue this as well as the mentorship program.
The exact schedule has not yet been published, and we imagine that at the announcement that will also be more information will be illuminated at that time, certainly.
Okay. And then just to clarify, so in order to participate in the program, they would have to leave a full-time employment or anything over, was it 20 or 35 hours? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So broadly speaking, or specifically speaking, 35 hours must be committed. That is the state's definition of full-time employment. So 35 hours must be committed to the venture. And outside of the 35 hours per week, no more than 20 hours per week can be committed to anything else. The idea is that we'd like the entrepreneur teams to focus on the venture full-time for 2 years to give it the maximum potential of success. That is the point of it. The goal is to give an income replacement for the income that you're currently receiving, or not necessarily equivalent to it, but something to help make sure that you can do this work full time.
So that eliminates any sort of like outside employment so that you can focus. So thank you for addressing that. Okay, so I guess do all members have to be full-time entrepreneurs? I think you may have answered that already. There's a lot of questions about the eligibility, but one of the questions here, does an independent contractor count as paying income tax in New Jersey if the service provided was one in New Jersey?
That's a good question. Actually, I'll take a step back from that one. EDA doesn't take the position of offering tax advice. We'd actually suggest you speak with your tax professional or the Division of Taxation for that one specifically. Everybody's situation is different. So we don't want to, we're not the tax experts on this one. For a lot of these questions, Michelle, you're doing a good job of kind of consolidating and kind of reviewing these on the fly. There will be an FAQ posted within 30 days in advance of when the application opens. We appreciate this opportunity to engage with folks. A lot of these questions will be, if they're not already answered in the statute or the program creation memo, the rules effectively, we'll be able to answer a number of those in the FAQ as well.
Thanks, Tim. There was also a question on here about the distribution of the grant. So can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the financing pieces and what that's used for and for how long they need to use it for?
Thank you for asking that question. That's a good one. Grant awards will be distributed to the businesses. Hence the necessity to register the business within 30 days after approval or notification of approval. Those grant awards will be dispersed to your businesses. Part of the compliance, which you will see on the Innovation Fellows website, is that the business must have retained a paycheck or a paycheck system, and that is a compliance piece, and that shows us that each entrepreneur on the team that applied is receiving income. Now, and that would be dispersed on a quarterly basis. So I believe it's what, 15 days after the quarter ends, they must submit their compliance documents, at which time it will be the next quarterly disbursements will be based on those compliance documents. So yes, every quarter to the business, and the business must demonstrate that the grant is being dispersed to the entrepreneurs as income.
Yeah, and to give a little bit more context around that, so the legislation created the program so that it could create that income replacement grant, essentially, so entrepreneurs could focus on the business full time. It's structured as it is so that, you know, again, there's an engagement as well as kind of an investment component with this program. We want to make sure that we are not just deploying dollars to businesses. We want to be able to demonstrate that we're supporting entrepreneurs. You know, we will keep contact with you on that kind of quarterly basis. We want to make sure that you are getting the support you need from the mentorship program, that we are able to support the mentors in this program, basically. And anything outside of that realm that EDA has the resources to do is we leverage our own history operating in the state, but we also work with sister agencies like Higher Ed and like the Department of Labor and other folks if we can facilitate that connection as well. So this program is really built to, again, foster that continuum of engagement to help the business running. Startup businesses, I think it's no secret, have a high failure rate, right? So what part of the initiative here is to not just help form the businesses, but help foster a higher success rate for businesses from year to year, basically.
Great, thanks, Tim. Can you talk a little bit about the ownership percentage of the owners and what that has to be like for the program?
Yes, great question. The entrepreneur team has to have the majority ownership stake in the business and maintain that. They have to have the majority ownership stake at the time of application. Now, we would see it as success if that team and that business was to raise additional capital that would be, say, maybe a price round that would then, you know, maybe dilute their personal ownerships to the business. That's success to us. But at the beginning, we want to make sure that these entrepreneurs are the majority owners of the businesses and that they are, in fact, controlled. These are their businesses. This is not a silent partner somewhere that is, you know, sort of like egging them on to go ahead and do this. This is their venture, and they're the ones facilitating its growth. They're the ones with the vision. They're the ones with the drive to see that this works.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So we have a question on here as well, kind of related to the targeted industries. So are there any specific businesses that won't be approved? I would say kind of refer to the list, but Emmanuel, I don't know if the legislation speaks to anything outside that will absolutely be denied, you know?
Tim, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump in there. Yeah, I mean, the business or this program is focused on supporting that list of innovative or targeted sectors or industries in the state. So again, that's posted on the website in the program memo. We'll also draw it out further in the FAQ when that comes online. Again, we want to make sure that we're supporting the subset of industries that's responsive to the legislation. So we have to operate within that realm, basically.
Thanks for that, Tim. There was also a question about whether technically the company can be a nonprofit.
That is oh, sorry, Emmanuel, do you have a challenge?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. But as long as I don't see, here's what I'll say. As long as the nonprofit, which can in fact be an LLC, is operating within the targeted industries, I don't see a reason why they can't be. The legislation is silent on businesses being for profit or non-profit. They just mentioned that they have to be in the targeted industries, which means that they're innovative businesses. But it's silent as to their profits or their IRS status, their tax code, which is, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those questions that also falls under the heading. It's a good thing for us to go back and take a look at, and we'll have a consultation kind of on a one-on-one basis. It's an interesting circumstance. So we'll take a look at that one, actually. I saw a good question in here, actually. Are businesses eligible for additional or alternative funding sources outside of the Fellows Program? Yeah, absolutely. The program is built such that, look, we want you to be able to access the funding here through the Fellows Program. We also want to be able to foster that, that support that you need to connect with additional investors in the ecosystem. So as I think as Emmanuel already alluded to, a successful business may very well go out and raise additional growth capital to dilute their that will dilute their ownership. You would go out, if your business is successful, be able to access debt funding if that is if that aligns with your expectations. Certainly a business can go out and access other grant funding. So there is nothing in the program rules that would preclude a business on the basis of NJ Innovation Fellows, basically.
And Tim,
that's a common question across many EDA programs.
Right. That's actually a very good segue. If I can use this opportunity to plug some of the EDA programs that are coming online very soon. We have the Innovation Evergreen Fund that's coming online soon, where the Evergreen Fund can actually be a tool that you can use to raise additional funding from venture capitalists, qualified and venture capitalists. There's also the Steady Seed Fund, the Black and Latino Seed Fund, and the Life Science Fund. That's all coming online from the from the SSBCI CAP federal fund that's coming. So participation in the Innovation Fellows does not preclude you from any of these other opportunities to receive capital. And this is just within the venture team. There's a slew of other opportunities with our sister agency, the CSIT, as well as our main street business side of the house as well.
Thank you for that. Okay, and then there's just a couple of questions here I see about whether, like, if one entrepreneur lives in New Jersey or another entrepreneur lives in Canada or somewhere else, if something like that would be feasible or eligible.
Listen, as long as they continue to pay gross income tax to the state of New Jersey, 1, 2, that they are compliant with the mentorship requirements, which means that the moments where they have to be in person, that they are able to be in person and to satisfy all those compliance mandates, you know, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. And so
I do see a good process question. Is there a specific format for the business plan proposal? I've saw that question a few times. We'll be providing a template on the website in advance of the application open, so folks can be able to provide the necessary information that we need in order to determine eligibility and evaluate the businesses, and so that template will be provided soon.
I also wanted to add, because there was a couple of different questions about like the business plan, the NJEDA also offers like a business navigator that you can use like a template for your business plan. And so I actually dropped that in the chat for anybody to visit if you needed some just additional resources to help you formulate your business or had questions. Did we still want to go on with the Q&A?
Yeah, sure. We can do more here.
Okay, so we have, what is the definition of a first-time business owner?
Great question. That is, let me see if I can get the direct wording for that. While I do that, can we move on to something else while I just grab that real quick, because I don't want to mess it up.
Okay, so there's another couple of questions here about the working status outside of the program. So one of the questions is, can any of the entrepreneurs have another source of income, or do they all have to be devoted full time to the new business?
Yep. Yeah. So any of the minimum three full-time entrepreneurs have to be, or entrepreneur leaders must be full-time on the business year. The legislation does allow folks to attend classes of up to 20 hours or work on additional efforts of up to 20 hours outside of the core business here. The initiative is really spread out to give individuals the wherewithal and the focus to make this business venture happen. Yeah.
I have that definition for a first-time entrepreneur. It is available on the memo, the Innovation Fellows memo, which is on the Innovation Fellows website, but it is defined as an entrepreneur who has never been listed as a founder, co-founder, or owner of a business entity which operated in a targeted industry in the state of New Jersey, or has not received third-party institutional funding for past entrepreneur opportunities as early as the ideation phase. So in other words, if you have not operated a business in the past that operated within the targeted industries in New Jersey, and even if you did run a business that's not within the targeted industries, if that business received third-party institutional funding, then you cannot qualify as a first-time entrepreneur.
Thank you for that. Okay, there's a question here. Do we need to continue to work 20 hours in order to continue paying gross income taxes? And we just reiterate, just as long as your taxes are paid, your New Jersey income taxes are paid, you are technically, that checks off one of the eligibility requirements. I think, Emmanuel, I think it might be really useful, and I don't know if you could do this on the spot, but like when we talk a little bit about some of the targeted industries, maybe can you talk a little bit about like what are some examples of some of like professional services or just some of them on the targeted industries list so that people can get a good idea based off of what they're doing, what, you know, what qualifies or not.
Okay, do people understand what targeted industries are in the first place?
If we can maybe talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so targeted industries are New Jersey's targeted industries. First of all, means industries that identify from time to time by the authority. But initially they include advanced transportation and logistics, advanced manufacturing sector, aviation sector, autonomous vehicle and zero emissions research or development, clean energy, clean tech, life sciences, hemp processing, information and high technology, finance and insurance, professional services, film and digital media, non-retail food and beverage businesses. Professional services can be a bit broad. And I think maybe that's something we should define further in the FAQ actually. So, but I would say just stay tuned. We'll define professional services because I don't want to just give a broad definition at the moment that can be a bit limiting. So I want to be able to give the exact definition of professional services there. Tim, any additions, any commentary there?
No, I would say it's so the list of, we're not trying to evade, the list of targeted industries is a fairly long list. And there are specific definitions and examples provided for them. Again, if folks can go to the website, those are available on the Innovation Fellows page via the program memo. And we'll draw them out further in the FAQ actually.
Yeah, that'll be something that we definitely include. So there's, again, I'm getting a couple of questions here about like somebody who may not be like a citizen of like the United States, if they can apply to the program. That I think we may have addressed that question as long as your taxes are paid. I think we're okay with that. So does a current student fellow count as employment?
Repeat that again.
Does a current student fellowship count as employment?
If they are, I think broad answer is if they are subject to gross withholding, then we can look to that as fitting the definition is probably the simple way to say it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about medical benefits if someone leaves their job?
So the statute and the program rules speak to that. That's a question that we can take offline. That's not the first time I've heard that question, so we can look to see if we can bake something like that into the FAQ. Essentially, the grant is it's a single grant. It's awarded to a company, to a business. and that business must demonstrate that they are paying they're paying wages out of that funding, basically. That's the short of it.
Okay. Great.
And just as a reminder, this presentation will be posted online, so folks can go back and review it. We'll have it up on YouTube, this video will be up there, and the presentation will also be up there.
Great. One of the questions that we have, which schools qualify as New Jersey colleges / universities?
That's a good question. All the university and colleges, but also technical schools. So equivalent certification from those schools would qualify.
So we'll double check that. The short answer is 2- and 4-year colleges and universities.
Okay. And then I guess we can clarify also this question as well. So trying to clarify like the first-time entrepreneur, what that means, if we can kind of go over that again.
Okay, a first-time entrepreneur must not have ran a business in the past. They must not have been listed as a founder, co-founder of a business that operated in any of the targeted industries in New Jersey, or have received third-party funding. So, and the receipts of third-party funding is irrespective of the targeted industries. So as long as if they've run a business that have received third-party funding, then that they're not qualified as a first-time entrepreneur. Again, that is a question that we also elaborate on the FAQ.
Okay, great. And then, so I have a question here that's really kind of a little bit more specific, but again, speaking to the fact that about the program. So what happens if your company has been around for more than a year but needs funding? And so we'll leave it at that question there because that leaves it super broad.
Yeah, happy to take it or shall I?
No, you got it.
So yeah, again, it's EDA has 65 plus programs. They are built to fill specific gaps in the market. So Innovation Fellows is really built to fill that very early stage market gap to support the formation of businesses. So for a business that's been around for a year, there's a misalignment with the program rules for this one. That said, there are additional resources EDA has. We're happy to refer you to a colleague, or we're happy to have a conversation with you depending upon your sector and your stage, your industry. Thank you, Emmanuel. To be able to understand the specific needs that you have and the resources available. All right.
Great. Thank you. And so there's a question here about how are the candidates chosen? If there's a lottery, competitive review, can you talk a little bit about the selection process? Good
question.
Tim, I'll defer to your experience here.
Oh, okay. I was going to defer to you. So no, there is no lottery for this program. There are specific criteria that are again posted in the program memo. There's a very clear rubric. If there are questions on that rubric, we're happy to be able to accept them and post them widely so that people are, very clear on how EDA will be evaluating the business plans put forward. I'll actually defer to Emmanuel to kind of get a little bit more granular on some of the context here, as he is leading the way on that process and the engagement with the Diversity Finance Advisory Board. That will be a critical piece of it as well, actually. So just want to give like 20 seconds on that, Emmanuel.
Absolutely. So prior to getting to the Diversity Finance Advisory Board, the rubric that Tim mentions encompasses 3 broad sectors, right? First of all is the eligibility. So there are the yes or no questions. Does this applicant meet these eligible standards that the legislation requires? Once that's passed, then there is the broad evaluations of the business plan. So the well-written business plan is a critical component of that. And then making sure that the organization is that is looking to do this work is well fitted. But that rubric does spell it out. There is a team of EDA evaluation team that will look over at every application and grade them competitively. So it's a mix of the team. So it's not one individual that's assessing an applicant, and that team will come up. Actually, more than one person will look at what evaluates an application, and then their scores will be averaged to come up with a total score for a specific applicant. Once the team evaluation, the internal evaluation team is complete, the top scorers will be referred over to the Diversity Finance Advisory Board, who will also comment and make recommendations on those applications. And from those comments and comments and recommendations, we then refer the final recommendations for approval to the board. I'm not sure if that's clear enough. I was trying to be as detailed as possible, but then as brief as possible as well.
Yeah, I think that's helpful, Emmanuel. Two just quick additional points. Again, as highlighting Emmanuel mentioned, this is a competitive process. We want to make sure it's run equitably and transparently. If folks do have questions, please direct them to the NJ Innovation Fellows at njeda.com mailbox so that we can ensure we receive your question, we understand your question, and we can transmit a response to the market broadly and make sure that that everybody has the most up-to-date information on the program.
Exactly. There was a question here about can the entrepreneurs be related?
Emmanuel, did we have we're going to check on that one. We will check.
Yeah, I know there was some policy questions we drafted around relations, relatives rather being a part of a team. There are some stringent stipulations there, which we can, if you can pose that question, if you're still online, pose that question to us via the email, and we'll definitely get you the exact specifications for that.
Yeah, and for clarity, we also have we'll receive this question and answer flow, which is why it's important that you put your questions in there. So we'll be able to follow up with folks that way as well. So even if you don't email us, we'll have a keen eye focused on this Q&A flow here and be able to get back to you with that one. I regret we don't have an answer ready for that one, but that's a very specific circumstance. But it's a very good question too, actually.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we have here, there's a lot of questions coming in, so thank you for being patient, everyone.
Yeah. Just so the last question. So if you have questions, it's NJ Innovation Fellows at njeda.com.
Yeah, and I believe Michelle put that in the chat.
Perfect.
So last question.
Okay, so what is the NJEDA Fellows question email again? So last question, perhaps really quickly, just at a high level, just going through like the 120 days, 30 days, and the 2-year cohort, just at a very high level, talk about that, because that is really the entirety of the program, what's required and how it's going to finish.
Thank you for asking that. That was just given to give an indication of what the program could look like. So prior to the application period opening, Tim mentioned it earlier, there will be a 30-day Q&A question time. During that time as well, the FAQ will be posted so that individuals that are interested or teams that are interested can pose their inquiries freely and receive answers. Following the 30-day Q&A period is the application period, which will be open for 60 days. And after 60-day application period is the evaluation period. Between the 30-day period and the date of approval by the board, or board presentation rather, it will be about 120 days, after which applicants will have 30 days to register their businesses and submit the registration, business registration documents to our compliance teams, and all the other compliance requirements. And then disbursements will follow, and the mentorship program will kick off for the first cohort.
Yep, absolutely. I did see somebody asked just to make sure that can the entrepreneurs be related question be published widely. Yeah, again, all of the questions here will create an FAQ from these. So we want to ensure that there's wide market visibility on all of the answers to this, because it's a competitive process, and we want to make sure everybody has the same level playing field to be able to participate in the program. So yes, that 100% will be distributed widely. Okay.
Caitlin, are there any housekeeping information that everybody else needs to know as we close out?
We'll be following up as has been said previously in regards to the recording and these presentation slides, and folks should, bookmark that web page to really stay up to date when that application is going to be out. So we're good to go. Yeah, it's not going to be instantaneous, so you will get the recording in the next couple days for sure. All right.
Okay.
Good. Great. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your participation and look forward to the applications later this quarter. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.